Now, one of the most important aspects to making it look realistic is to show it tied down. And that's really simple as well. What I'm going to do clean the glue off of here. While I've got that off, real simple. I'm going to mark with a pencil where the tie downs on the fenders are located. On the outside of the fender. So you can see the pencil lines there. And when I place this where I want it, I'm going to transfer the marks to the piece of stowage. Take some string. I think I bought this at the craft store about 6 years ago, and I've barely broken into it. Place the string on those marks that you transferred and tie a knot. A fairly snug knot, and then double it over on itself to keep it from slipping out, like so. Cut the ends off, and what you are going to notice, how it pulls it in like a strap might. If they crank the strap down on that fender, it might pull it in. It makes a dent and a wrinkle in the piece of stowage. You're going to do the same down the bottom. Same thing. Then double it over again. Just like you did on the first one. I made this one a little big, and a little thick, and it's shorter than I wanted, so it's not really fitting to the roundness of the fender. And even though that's a mistake, it's a good mistake for me to make on this video, because I'm going to show you how you can fix that. Camouflage net. Let's just take a piece of this gauze, and what you want to do is you want to unfold it to a single layer. And sometimes this might be tough because of the way they fold this in the factory. It almost sews itself together, but you can actually see there's a lot of gauze here. You want to open it up to one single layer so it's very open and thin. And just like before, I'm going to just guesstimate a size. It's really not critical, at least not to me, for what I do. If you want to mathematically figure out the size of an actual net and make one to that spec, you know, that's completely up to you. Me, you know, I just don't really care that much. As long as it's going to look something like a camo net, I'll be thrilled. Now for this, I'm going to make it longer than that piece of stowage. I'm going to make it pretty much the length excuse me, of that fender. And I want these scraggly ends that are all torn and cut, because if you've ever seen a World War II photo of a camouflage net, sometimes there's pieces hanging and it looks really beat and worn. That's the effect I want. So on this edge where it's really clean, I'll just pull some of the strings off. And that gives us that shredded look, like maybe an old pair of jeans. And I put both the shredded edges together. And then I'll just roll that up. Now, I don't have to be perfect with this. As I roll it, I'll discover that I may have too much gauze here. If I continue, this thing is going to be huge. And I'm not so sure I want it to be so huge. So all I got to do, cut that leftover off and throw it out. Probably be able to use it somewhere. Tuck in all the hanging threads. Place this on the fender. Now this stuff can really be shaped. So we're going to get it to about where we want it. We're just going to start soaking in the white glue and water mixture. Now, unlike the tissue paper, you can put your fingers on this. It's not going to destroy it because it's actual, strings. It's not going to break down and start falling apart. The white glue will actually help it to somewhat stick to the plastic for now, which is fine. It's still going to peel off easy enough. And you want to really saturate this. With the tissue paper, you're just basically getting it wet enough at this point to hold its shape and become a more solid mass and not just some rolled up tissue paper. This, however, you really want to saturate. And the great thing is, if you get too much, you can always squeeze it out afterwards. The reason we're saturating it like so is we can then take this piece, which we may feel was not fitting perfectly, and manipulate it into camo net with pressure like that. Then we can tease open this end of the camo net a little bit to show the rolls. We can also manipulate it to hang over the edge of the fender. I think one of the most important things when doing this to keep in mind is two things. That's weight and gravity. That's what you're trying to portray. Basically what you're shooting for is a tight fit, no gaps, no big open areas that are going to look unnatural. You're trying to get this look like, a 30-pound rolled up tarp whose weight is pulling it into the corners and squishing down this netting. Basically, if you get to this point, right here, it's a good idea at this point to put it aside and let it dry. Now, because it's white glue, it may take a while to fully harden.